Computer. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jeff. I'm joined by Edwin. We are talking this evening about instructional technologies. We are so close to the end. I can feel it, right? This is the last unit, right? And then we have that last final project discussion. So I don't know about you, Edwin. I'm feeling ready to wrap things up. So
I'm with you 100%.
we have a couple of objectives. We're going to first identify and describe learning technologies. We will identify and describe production software before transitioning into explaining why a job position might list production software and programming languages in their job description, and then why somebody in the field of instructional design and technology needs to understand the theory, the models, project management needs, and the production hardware and software. So a lot to cover. So I'm going to start things off by talking about learning technologies. First, I guess defining what learning technologies are, what they consist of. Based on my experience, based on the different readings that we had at our disposal, this is what I came up with. Learning technologies refer to the tools that instructional designers use to develop learning experiences for their learners, whether they're the students in your classroom or potentially maybe even, I guess, adult learners who might be using your, I guess, learning experiences as part of like a broader training or like a professional development. And so one of the things, and this is maybe coming from, I can't remember exactly where this came from, but it was one of the videos that Dr. Crawford included that I thought was interesting, is that um, in many ways you can sort of organize different learning technologies with specific learning theories that we've talked about previously in this course. And so I thought I would, I guess, try to like talk about how some specific technologies might fit with a specific theory. So the first one that comes to mind is this is a little logo for Canvas. Canvas as an LMS, you're able to structure and arrange your course content in a way that I think applies or aligns with the cognitive learning theory. So the LMS, you can house, deploy, you can track learning, and really take advantage of how students, according to this learning theory, process, store, and retrieve information just by the virtue of how Canvas works as a technology. One of the things that I'm excited about, I've recently interviewed for a position at the Dell Medical School as an instructional designer, and they use augmented and virtual reality as part of their sort of uh, learning experiences that they develop for medical school students. And so I thought that this fell well within constructivism as a learning theory, in the sense that you're using this, literally this technology to immerse the learner in like an entire environment, or maybe even just layer things on top of the environment that's around them to help them sort of construct their knowledge just based on the interactions that they have with the technology. And then the last technology I thought I would highlight with gamification is Duolingo. I have a very sort of dedicated time of the day where I do my Duolingo, and I recognize how much it aligns to the behavioral perspective or that behavioral learning theory in terms of the rewards, the notifications, just like every element of how Duolingo works is really meant to try to keep you engaged with the platform. And so if we recognize that gamification as a learning technology has clear and achievable goals, it's got rules for progression, a compelling narrative, personalization, I feel like Duolingo offers all of those elements. And I guess the last thing I would say about learning technologies, and this is something that I think was highlighted in Dr. Crawford's video, is that some instructional designer positions might place more emphasis on the technology in terms of what is required out of candidates, or some positions might focus more on having a stronger background in theory. And so I think one of the things I took away from Dr. Crawford's video is it's really just having a good balance of both, having that theoretical background, but also knowing how it applies to these different technologies. And so next, we've got production software, right? So production software refers to the application programs that we use to design these learning experiences or these learning resources. And so I don't know how much experience you have with some of these apps, Edwin, but I thought it made sense to try to arrange them in sort of categories, right? You've got authoring tools like Articulate, 360. All of these Articulate tools really kind of fall within that category of sort of creating almost like from start to finish that learning experience. But then you also have like audio and video editing apps. So I use at work something called Panocto, but I think we might also be familiar with Echo 360, just being able to create instructional videos, edit them, put narration over the top. Then you've got your storyboard software, and that's really meant to try to map and plot out the e-learning projects that you might be working on. And then this is an area that I feel like I'm maybe less familiar with, or like the specific project management tools like Asana, right? Where you can create like work breakdown structures and assign tasks to specific people and get notifications that things have been submitted for review. I just haven't, I don't know about you, I haven't had any experience working with any of those types of platforms. But the last, I guess, category of production software I was wanting to highlight was just writing tools. And so here I've got a logo for Grammarly. I think Grammarly is one of those things that you could even have like as an extension to your browser, right? And so even as you're writing, like it's something in Canvas, right? You're trying to build out some maybe some content for a lesson. Grammarly can maybe even give you suggestions almost in real time, right? And so that is definitely a tool that I know a lot of educators have used, especially now that I think it's included like AI components too, right? Like it's integrated that level of sophistication. So I don't know, Edwin, is there a specific tool that you either have had the opportunity to learn more about, or is there a tool that you want to learn more about?
I think as far as the learning technology tools that I've kind of been exposed to over time, generally has to do with Adobe Creative Cloud. I really like Adobe
Yeah.
just in general, really. And I know you mentioned AI as well, and so there is one tool named Adobe Firefly
Mhm.
that I really actually like, and I happened to use it over this past summer.
I
It's
think we were in
really
that same
cool
class
with
together. I remember seeing
it.
some of the stuff that you created with the prompts.
Exactly. Yeah. And even then, that stuff, that specific tool, I use it currently in order to kind of develop some kind of graphics for my students because science is a pretty abstract concept, subject. So, when I'm talking about atoms, we can't
Yeah.
really see that.
Right.
So that's where these different learning technologies can kind of like give us that extra little bit of help so that we can incorporate different elements like that, right? Create them, even with the assistance of AI.
Yeah.
And so I've used Grammarly before for school purposes and that kind of thing. It's pretty convenient and it does help with the way that you kind of put your words together. And let's see, Articulate 360 is another one that I've used before, and I think that one's pretty good too. I don't have a lot of experience with that one, but I would say with the experiences that I have had, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember taking the instructional technology course, and we had some
yes,
time to play around with that, and it was fun, just like playing with like little characters and making them do things, and having reactions, and so it really kind of scratched an itch that I didn't realize I had in terms of just kind of thinking through how to make use this tool to make a dynamic kind of learning experience. So
Absolutely. I agree.
cool. All
All
right,
right, cool.
passing the baton to you.
All right, everybody. So, the biggest question here in this slide is why would job positions want to list specific skills, right? And so, if we were to break it down, right, it's like obviously if you're an employer, you're gonna want the best pick of the litter. And so essentially when they are describing these different skills onto the job positions or the job duties, they're looking for candidates that actually fit that criteria or possess some kind of skills that is gonna be able to fit right into the environment that they have in their workplace. So on the first bullet, you can see that candidates should possess the necessary skills to perform the job effectively. And the key word here is effectively, because essentially it applies to all different sorts of factors inside of a workplace. So these skills are specified due to various reasons. So some here, I have three in total. The job specific functions, which basically certain positions, they require you to have certain skills for that specific job. So coding, I don't know nothing about coding. So I can't sit here and fill out an application and be like, I am 100% sure that I'm going to get that coding job because I have no clue what that is at all. And so system designing can be like designing, I don't know, like websites, things like that. And still, I don't have no experience with that. Another factor in that would be collaboration skills. And I think that's a pretty important thing when it comes to instructional design, especially if you're working with stakeholders and subject matter experts and all kinds of different people in different fields, right? From my understanding, we are the glue, and essentially. We're the ones that are the facilitators and kind of putting everything together. And as project managers, which by the way, that really caught my attention, project management. As project managers, it's kind of like we're the spider and we're basically tying in all the webs together. So collaboration skills, right? Having the familiarity with tools, and that allows a team to work more effectively, right? So instead of feeling like you're thrown out into the wolves and to the lion's den, it's like you're fitting right in due to the familiarity of the tools. The last one is productivity. So a member that hasn't experienced already can become productive quicker. So I mean, I've worked jobs before in my lifetime, before being a teacher. And, it's so much easier for an employer to hire somebody that already knows some of the stuff than to have to train them in order to get them to the level of everybody else. So that would be the reason as to why they list those different skills.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Next
you,
slide.
you answered the question, like, I think the way the question was worded in the course was like, there were specific like programming languages mentioned, like HTML5, JavaScript, Python. I was going to ask you if you had any experience with those, but I think you made it clear that no, not so much. Do you
Yeah.
use Canvas as your LMS?
Yes, I do. Hmm.
So what I would say is that for me, that was really the way in which I kind of dipped my toe into HTML is that you can, when you're making your course page, you can toggle to your HTML editor and kind of see how the code fits together. And, you can do a lot more in terms of layouts if you understand kind of how those different sort of tags, work and fit together. So,
That's pretty cool. Didn't have a
but
clue about that at all.
yeah, but like JavaScript, Python for me, like I've never had the need to know that level of like computer programming language. I have messed around just as a hobby, like trying to teach myself how to code in Java, but yeah, nothing, professionally.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess so the last slide here, yes, I know this is a lot of information, but everybody needs it. So, implementing theories, design models, project management, and production hardware software into instructional design, right? And so here's the thing. When we speak about theories and models, right? So there's a reason as to why it's very important to understand theories, right? So this has to do a lot with the cognitive side of things, and the models is basically the method of basically how do you say designing and given the framework. So the definition that I have for that is that these two theories and models they provide a methodical framework that promotes effective learning processes through the use of strategies and models. Strategies, right? They're very effective when it comes into the term in the field of education, and they can be used in a variety of ways, right? You can kind of adapt it to wherever you are. And so some of these strategies can be like interactive tools. I know that I believe it was um, Rise 360 where it has a function where you can put in like hotspots into your presentation and make it more interactive, right? And so Addy is a model, right? And so the Addy model is designed or implemented into your designs in order to kind of give it more structure, right? So planning out what it is, what's the issue, or what is it that you're trying to teach. From there, you develop and then you design and all the good stuff. So it's all kind of like a process. As far as project management, these are resources, the timelines, and the quality of the product that have to be planned and they have to be executed successfully, right? And so, in the words of Dr. Crawford, it's the triad, right? So you can't necessarily have all three at once. There's got to be some sort of sacrifice going on there. And so this allows instructional designers to kind of determine what risks there are and to adapt accordingly. And lastly, production software and hardware. The knowledge of these tools allows for the creation of engaging content. So instructional designers can choose the tools that are effective within their respective goals. So um, depending on what kind of goal you're trying to achieve, you got to keep in mind what your audience is going to be operating or learning through. So like Duolingo, right? A lot of people usually use their phone or iPad, something a little more portable. So mobile apps, simulations. I know FET labs are also very engaging when it comes to teaching students. Like it's like a virtual lab. So instructional designers, they're able to adapt their content. And because they know their tools very effectively and very well, they're able to troubleshoot issues pretty quickly on the spot.
So what I found interesting about this is I think you and I approached this like this last question literally the same way. I think we both recognize that an instructional designer that has a familiarity, maybe not like a mastery level understanding, but at least a familiarity with all three of these sort of areas is just going to be better positioned and better qualified for whatever opportunities that are in front of them and just much more effective at their job. So I'm glad that I was just like reading through your slide and not listening to you speak. I'm just nodding my head, absolutely agreeing with everything that you're saying. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's like being the jack of all trades. I
yeah,
think I'd rather be a jack of all trades as the master of one, you know?
yeah. Well, that's it, everybody. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and we look forward to your feedback. Thank you, Edwin. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Have a good night.